Okay, sit yourself onto a lift so that you're sitting evenly and with the sensation of levelness at the hips. Hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area upwards. Just spend a moment feeling that you are sitting with levelness at the seat bones. And that doesn't come straight away. You have to draw your attention into the seat bones and to spend a little time just observing. Because yoga is not just throwing your body into odd positions. More than anything, it is trying to draw your attention inwards, to observe the physical body within the pose. So just listen to the breath. Feel that you fill the lungs from the bottom to the top and empty them from the top to the bottom. If you realise that you're not sitting evenly, then adjust your position so that you are. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. I'm not quite sure where that music's coming from. Let's just ignore it. Bring your hands into Namaste. Lengthen your armpits into your elbows into the heels of your hands. And then allow your eyes to gently close. Just continue to fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. And empty them from the top to the bottom. With an exhalation, draw your chin forwards and down to make contact with the chest. Lift your chest so that you make contact with the chin. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Something or someone or somewhere that brings positive energy into your existence. Hold on to that feeling of abundance that comes from that gratitude. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Bring the tip of the index finger together with the tip of the thumb. And then raise your head. Allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Just spend a moment, just reassess the balance of the seat bones, and again just adjust on your cushion. Just move the buttock flesh out to the side, or just adjust your balance on the cushion if there is imbalance. And then hold onto your knees, elevate the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders really consciously down away from your ears, so you lengthen the neck. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. Observe your body's response to the pose. Observe how it feels to turn and whether there is any resistance to the turn. Of course, respect that resistance. Observe it, acknowledge that it's telling you something that you should listen to, but just sit in the resistance if there is any. Use each exhalation to turn a little more deeply if the resistance will allow, but just respect it. And then draw your attention beyond that initial resistance into other areas of the body, other limbs that present little or no resistance. And just observe how that changes your perception of the initial resistance. Come back to the centre. Hold onto your knees and again elevate the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side. The other side. Observe your body's resistance. Maybe it's different on this side, maybe it's less or greater on this side. Try to avoid turning the neck. Just look forwards and turn the shoulders, turn the ribs, turn the abdomen. Again, observe any resistance and draw your attention beyond that into areas of non-resistance. So we're not ignoring the resistance. We should never ignore resistance or discomfort in our practice. But we don't obsess about it. We draw our attention elsewhere. Come back to the centre. Take a deep inhalation and then come off the lift and sit back on your heels. Sit back on your heels and just have the knees apart. Have the big toes together, the knees apart. Feel how the shins mould themselves into the floor. Maybe it doesn't feel initially comfortable to sit in this position, maybe it does. But I want you to aim to push the shins into the floor. Push the shin bones into the shin skin so that the shins make really kind of good, like 100% contact with the mat. And often the shins don't make full contact. Elevate the heart area upwards and then keeping the seat bones in contact with the heels, come forwards, hinging at the hips, keeping the head lifted as you come forwards. If there's discomfort in your back, then you can stretch over a bolster or you can have a block for underneath your head. But this can feel good to initially stretch out low. Well, it depends on your back, but when I've got tightness in my lower back, I really like this stretch. Lengthen the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Keep the head lifted, looking forwards. Keep bringing the chest down to the floor. And then finally, bring the forehead down onto the floor. If you've lost contact with the seat bones, then just edge the hands a little closer to the head, just a couple of millimeters. And then really straighten your arms and press the seat bones down on the heels. If you don't make contact between the seat bones and the heels, then it's difficult to know where you're stretching from. So put a block between the seat bones and the heels if you lose contact. Or
If bringing your head down made you lose contact with the blocks, with the seat bones, then put a block underneath your head. Press the seat bones down to the heels. Lengthen from the hips into the armpits, into the elbows, into the wrists, into the palms, into the fingers, into the fingertips, into the fingernails. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath, lengthening that lower back down into the tailbone. Come up onto your knees, have your hands as wide apart as your mat, have your feet as wide apart as your mat, and then come up into dog down. Wide legs to start off with, so that it gives you space in your hips. Tighten the kneecaps by pressing the fronts of the knees through to the backs of the knees. Press the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. And then feel that you can really elevate the seat bones up to the ceiling. Turn the fronts of your thighs inwards so that your heels start to separate. Press the palms consciously into the floor and tilt the tailbone and the seat bones up towards the ceiling. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Get the legs to straighten, tighten your kneecaps. If I'm holding you in the pose for too long, then you can rest, but if you can stay and maintain, then do. Okay, step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position, and then get a couple of blocks for your hands. If you don't have blocks, you can use like a little coffee table or a stool or something, or the seat of a chair, but just have something so that you're not going to go all the way down straight away, because especially if you've got a stiff back, you don't want to over bend, so you want your feet, you want that to be something underneath your hands initially. Hit your heels out so that they touch the edge of the mat. Make sure that your little toes also touch the edge of the mat, so that your big toes are turning inwards. Make sure that the toes are in line with each other at the front. Have your hands on your hips, tighten your kneecaps, and again elevate the heart area up to the ceiling. Wing your elbows towards each other behind you. Keep the legs straight, tightening the kneecaps. Keep the head lifted, and then hinge at the hips. Hinge at the hips. Keep extending the spine away, and then reach down and find the blocks. Have the fingertips on the blocks. So you can come into half uttanasana with the arms outstretched over your head and then stretch forwards, but I find that really quite strong on your back. So coming forwards with the hands on the hips is just a little more protective of the back. So initially go back to the kneecaps and tighten them. Press the fronts of the knees through to the backs of the knees. Lift the fronts of the thighs all the way up into the hip socket. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards from the little toe side to the big toe side. And then notice that perhaps you can pick up the seat bones a little more firmly. And then project the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Keep the head lifted, looking forwards. So if you've got a bad back, it's better to stay at the higher level, but maybe your particular back feels like it's okay to go down a little lower, but you just feel it for yourself. When I've done my lower back in, and that does happen occasionally, but touch wood, it is quite occasionally,
when it goes, it really goes. It's very painful. But I find forward bending quite okay for my back. I find it quite nice. So just observe for yourself. You can stay at that higher lift, or just draw the blocks down to the lower edge, and then just see how that feels. If it doesn't feel good for your back, come back onto the higher lift. Don't let the ego push you into the pose when the body is resisting it. That's a big thing. Does the mind want to go into the pose, but the body resists it, and you ignore the body and you go with the mind? So the mind in yoga is separate to the intellectual body, the back of the brain, and the mind is often the ego. So sometimes when I'm in the room with a class, I see people all over the place just pushing themselves really far, and everything's going wrong, and it's like, well, we try and go back to the beginning. In fact, we have to go back to the beginning when we see that, because they've lost the pose completely. So always observe and work with what feels good for you. So you might want to go back up onto the higher edge, or you might want to go lower. But observe how your body responds. Bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into a standing position. Have your feet together, big toes touching and your heels touching, and then spread your toes. Tighten your kneecaps, activate your thighs, and then turn the fronts of your thighs inwards. Tuck the tailbone in, draw the belly button to the spine, lift the abdomen to the diaphragm to the heart area to the collarbone, and then lengthen the shoulders down away from your ears, lengthening the neck up towards the ceiling. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet up nice and wide apart, and just feel your balance of the feet to start off with. Do you just instantly kind of start to favour one leg over the other, or does it feel like you are balanced in this central position? Turn your left toes in slightly, and then pick up the heel of the right foot, and then swing the heel out in line with the toes. Turn the fronts of the legs outwards. It's the opposite of Tadasana, which is that way, but that way makes the hips go towards that end of the mat. We want to keep the hips to the front, so we turn the legs outwards, especially that front leg. Lift up into the chest, and then reach down. Find your shin and look up. Again, work through feeling rather than objective. Look up. Feel that you can reach up to the sky with the top hand. That top arm is just rising out of the heart area up to the sky. Breathe in and out through the nose if you can. And observe how the sinuses clear, or at least the right side. Look down. Is your head over your foot? If it's not, then lift the chest a little more until it is. Squeeze the front leg buttock bone forwards, that right leg buttock bone. Squeeze it forwards. Push the back leg towards the wall behind you. And then look back up. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the centre, and then bring the feet back to face the front. Just take a deep inhalation, deep exhalation.
Turn the right toes in a little, and then pick up the heel, bring the heel in line with the toes. So that makes that heel kind of line up with the toes of the back foot. That's all right. You want heel on instep or toes of that back foot, never heel on heel, because again that makes you want to do this, and we want the hips to face the front. So you need to give yourself a bit of space. If you've got stiff hips, you can always bring this foot forwards even beyond the back foot. So have heel on instep or toes, never heel on heel. Stretch yourself out, rotate those legs, turn the fronts of the legs from the big toe side to the little toe side. Come over, find the shin and look up. So don't be tempted to go down so low that you start to do this. You start to kind of drop the chest and the head comes into the middle of the room. You want the head to stay over that foot. So look down. Is your head in line with the foot? If it's not, lift the chest a little more. Squeeze the front leg buttock bone forwards. Hit the right leg towards the wall behind you. Look up and observe how it clears out the sinuses. Reach up. So this isn't a collapsing pose, this is a growing pose. Lengthen out of the feet into the shins, into the thighs, into the hips, into the spine, into the arms, reaching out of the arms. And then come back to the centre, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Just come back into Tadasana. Observe the sinuses, maybe they feel a little clearer. Observe how you can breathe in through the nose, fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top, and how you can breathe out from the top of the lungs to the bottom. Just fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Turn the palms to face the front. Rotate the palms all the way out so that you broaden the collarbone. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, tuck the tailbone in, draw the belly button to the spine. Open the heart area. Stretch your arms out in front. Turn the palms so that they face away from each other, and then reach around behind you so that the tips of the fingers come together, and then you turn the tips of the fingers up towards the neck. Walk the hands up the back, and then lift the chest. Lift the heart area. Wing the elbows away from you behind you, and then lengthen from the shoulders into the elbows. And then squeeze the elbows in towards the palms of the hands. Lift up into the chest. Wing the elbows back, squeeze the elbows together, lift up into the heart area. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Lift your toes to really sharpen the action of your legs. Tuck the tailbone in, draw the belly button to the spine to protect the lumbar, so you don't over push in the lumbar. Just drop your chest a little, release the arms, and then spread the fingers, spread the palms. Resist the temptation to shake your fingers. Turn palms all the way out, broadening the collarbone, lifting up into the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Feeling the openness of the collarbones. Okay, and then very gently release. Okay, I want you to sit on a little lift. So you can sit on the cushion that you sit on at the beginning, or you can have a couple of blocks. You might need a couple of extra blocks to the side. So we're going to do Marichyasana. No, we're going to do Marichyasana. We're going to do malasana. Sorry. Sit on the blocks and then stretch your legs out in front. I always find that this pose is really good for kind of stretching out the lower back. So if you've got stiffness in the lower back, this could be really nice. So initially just lengthen the legs away. Roll over and move the buttock flesh out to the side. So make sure you're sitting on something. So you need to be a little higher than normal, otherwise you'll find it really difficult to lift. Lift up into the chest and then bring your arms to the side. Lift up into the heart area and then raise your arms up into dandasana. Spread the fingers, spread the palms, turn the fronts of the legs inwards. You can have the feet slightly apart at this stage, but turn the fronts of the legs inwards so that you can feel the calves kind of trying to spread out on the floor underneath you, so that the backs of the thighs feel like they broaden outwards. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. And then just release your arms. And then bring your feet into baddha konasana. So stay sitting on the lift and pull your feet right in towards the blocks that you're sitting on. Get hold of the big toes and lift the chest. Now I don't really like holding onto the big toes when I'm sitting on a lift, because it feels like it really kind of prevents me from lifting here. So if you have a belt handy, if you don't, then don't worry. But if you don't have a belt handy, I'll show you an alternative. But if you have got a belt handy, then you can put the belt just around the outside of your feet, and then you hold on like that. If you haven't got a belt, you can just hold on to the shins. They just give you more space so you can lift up into the chest. Or you can use the belt, just hold on close to the feet and then lift up into the chest. As you hold on to the feet or the shins or the toes, just feel where you are positioned on your seat bones. Are you rolling onto the back edge of the seat bones? In which case your back is going to be rounding. So that's going to be uncomfortable. So pull against the feet and roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. And then elevate the heart area upwards. Feel that there's levelness in the seat bones. Breathe in through the nose, fill in the lungs. Make sure that your arms aren't clamped into the sides of the ribs, because that can restrict the breath. Have the elbows bent a little out to the side. And just fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Feel the lungs expand in the armpit chest as well as the front chest. So baddha konasana. Feel like you can lengthen from the inner groin into the inner knee. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Okay, and then gently release. Just get hold of the feet, the knees, and then stretch your legs out in front. So,
those two poses are good preparation for malasana. Give you space in the hips, and they get you to really elevate the heart area upwards. Now, before we do malasana, there is an alternative approach to doing malasana, which is actually pretty good. So let's do that. So come off the lift a second, and then put your folded blanket on the mat, and then have the blocks on top of the folded blanket, so that there is a bit of blanket at the front, and you're going to use that for your heels. And it means that you can sit a bit higher as well, which is always good for this pose. Once you've got the blanket there, sit back on the blocks, and then come back into dandasana. This time with the feet together, big toes touching, heels sliding apart, rotating the fronts of the legs inwards, lifting up into the chest. So you sit in quite high for this. Then you're going to bend your knees and bring the tips of your heels onto the lift. So onto the folded blanket, just have a couple of have your heels on the blanket, and then hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Lift the abdomen up to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin, and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Release your knees, raise your arms up, and then keeping the arms lifted, so you don't come forwards with the arms like this. Keep the arms in line with the spine. Come forward. See if you can lift off the seat bones. Keep reaching forwards, and then just start to draw the body down, lengthening into your arms. Turn the tailbone consciously in, and you really lengthen the lumbar spine or the sacrum spine. Keep turning the tailbone in, keep hovering away from the seat bones, keep the shoulders away from the ears. I'm really hunching this, so I've got to lengthen the shoulders away from the ears. Reach forwards, and try and draw the chest down towards the floor, but keep the arms lifted. Okay, and then just guide yourself back onto the lift and stretch your legs out in front. Just hold on to the floor with the fingertips. Stretch the legs away. Just lift up into the chest. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, and then bring the feet back into baddha konasana. So if you can bring the whole of the foot onto the lift, maybe it will be easier to hold onto the big toes. But just use the belt or hold onto the shins. If not, lift up into the chest. Elevate the heart area upwards. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Okay, and then just come back into cross legs. Just staying on the lift. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Fill your lungs from the bottom to the top, and empty your lungs from the top to the bottom. And then just stretch your legs out one more time. Just roll over, move the buttock flesh out to the side, and we'll do malasana one more time. Sometimes it's known as the cobbler pose. Now, Jill, I think you managed to lift pretty successfully there. But if you struggle to lift, then you can always get a couple of additional blocks or just something at the side of you,
And then when you lift off, you just push yourself up from the blocks to come forwards. But I think you managed to kind of lift off pretty well there, Jill. So you can just do it the same way this time, or you can try the blocks if you prefer, the blocks at the side if you prefer. So lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area upwards, really activate the legs, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, elevate the heart area upwards, roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. And then bring the tips of the heels onto the blocks, onto the lift. Hold onto your knees and scoop the abdomen up to the diaphragm, up to the collarbone, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. So feel that you're lifting the front chest up to the ceiling. You're bringing the back chest in towards the front chest. You're drawing the lumbar forwards into the front chest. Raise your arms and then keep that length of the front chest as you come forwards. Keeping the length of the front chest. Let the knees come apart so that you can draw your lower ribs through the knees, turning the tailbone in, reaching forwards, lengthening forwards, and then trying to find that balance. So a difference between wanting to turn the tailbone in and reach down to the floor, but reaching forward so that you kind of balance on the feet. Lengthen the tailbone in. Drive the chest forwards. Okay, and then gently release and then stretch your legs out in front. So this is really good for opening up the hips. It's really good for lengthening out the lower back. How do you feel, Jill? Just give me a thumbs up, sideways, down. Okay, good. Reach up to the ceiling and then stay on the lift and come into swastikasana, just straight forward, cross legs. On the lift, swastikasana becomes a little more of a lift in the spine. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then turn to the right side. Dig the back hand into the blocks that you're sitting on, or the floor if you can reach, so that you can maintain length in the chest. Press the back hand into the blocks that you're sitting on so that you roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Draw the abdomen across, and the ribs and the shoulders. And then come back to the centre. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then turn to the left, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs and your shoulders. Gently come back to the centre. Just come down onto, just come off the lift and then just move the blocks out to the side and move the blanket out to the side and then come down onto your back, just down into supta baddha konasana, soles of the feet together, knees apart, and then lengthen your spine along the floor. Rest your hands on your lower ribs. Pick up the back of the neck and pick up the head from the back of the neck and lengthen out the back of the neck so that you have space in the back of your neck. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. So I don't want you to massively extend here. I want you to just feel that your body is in a good straight line, and then just to relax into the pose. Let the back become soft. Let the lumbar, which doesn't typically kind of hit the floor in this position, it kind of raises off the ground because of our own body's basic suspension. But just draw the belly button to the spine. Tuck the tailbone in a little and draw your lumbar spine towards the floor. Broaden from the abdomen into the abdominal walls. So feel that you can broaden from the belly button to the abdominal walls to bring the lumbar flat into the floor. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then very gently bring your knees together. Have your knees together and your feet apart for a moment. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just giving yourself a massage in the spine. The closer you bring your knees towards your chest, the higher up your back you massage. The further away from your chest you bring the knees, the lower down the back you massage. So just find your perfect sweet spot and just give it a little massage. Okay, and then very gently roll over onto your right side. Straighten out the top leg and then come back up into a seated position. So we're gonna use a bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, you can just use a block with a blanket on it. A block might be a bit too hard just on its own. It might not be high enough. Or you can use some cushions. So we're just going to do a very brief restorative pose that again really stretches out your lower back. So you just have the bolster long ways like this, and then you have the hip right up against the bolster, and then you lengthen out along the bolster. So it's the abdominal walls that are connected to the bolster, and then you're just going to stretch your arms out, stretch your legs out. So an initial stretch, make sure you're in a good straight line, and then rather than stretch, you let everything go. You let the arms release, you let the legs release, and you just use gravity. So this is our side lying stretch. It's a restorative pose which is really good for lengthening tension away from the back. So just let the body release into the floor. If you want to bring that front foot forwards of the and top foot forwards of the foot that's on the floor, then you can, but just try and balance, but without overworking the balance. Just let the body release into the floor. So normally we would stay in a restorative pose like this for at least 3 minutes, between 3 and 5 minutes probably. But today we won't stay that long because we don't have that much time. But just allow, well, whilst we're here, just let your body yield into the position. Okay, bend your knees and just roll onto your front. Push both elbows into the floor and then walk your knees in and then sit yourself back on your heels for a moment. Just observe how there is space around the lower back. It may feel uneven because we've only done one side. So just sit back on the floor with the hip touching the bolster. Stretch out that side. So we're on the other side this time. Make sure you're in a good straight line. The abdominal walls should be on the bolster or on the lift. So stretch out initially and then just let the body yield to gravity. So it can initially feel quite sciatic if you've got a stiff back, but just make sure that you're balanced, you're not rolling forward, you're not rolling back. Bring the top hip so that it faces directly to the sky, so you're not overdoing it. And let the body release, let the legs relax, let the arms relax. And then bend your knees, roll onto your front, just bring both elbows onto the floor and then walk your knees in and then sit yourself back onto your seat bone. Just observing your energy. So all onto the front edge of the seat bones, lift up into the chest and then just sitting back on your heels, turn to the right side. Drawing the abdomen across and the ribs across. And then come back to the centre and then turn to the left. And then come back to the centre. And then just for a moment or two, just lay yourself down onto your back and Just lay down into shavasana for a moment. Have the bolster or some cushions underneath your knees, and then allow yourself to release down into the floor. When you have a moment or two in here, so just enjoy this feeling of release. Just let the feet soften, let the shoulders relax. Let the body become heavy on the floor, unhooking the muscles of the arms and the legs. And feel that sensation of energetic lightness radiating from the bones and into the muscles, into the organs, radiating from the bones into the muscles, into the organs, into the flesh and the skin. Okay, and then when you're ready to disturb yourself, wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, just bring your feet onto the bolster, put the feet apart and the knees together. Just rest into the floor. And then draw your knees into your chest. Have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. Just a gentle massage on the spine. And then when you're ready, very gently roll over onto your right side. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just come back into cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest, lift your chest up to meet your chin. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside, and then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. Just bring the tip of the index finger together with the tip of the thumb, a gesture of wisdom, peacefulness that we can carry into our day. And then raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel like you have really lengthened yourself out, giving yourself some good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.